Alright, guys. I've never played this game before. It was free on Steam. It's a visual novel. Hopefully, there are choices because if not, that would kind of ruin the point. Oh, there goes my phone. I'll have to do something about that. So, let's check it out. I guess I gotta click. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. There's no need to explain. It's only natural. A mother loves her daughter more than anything else in the world. He hates you, doesn't he? A whole lot of them despise you, don't they? Chasing you into the forest and gouging a hole into your leg. All because you smiled at their husbands? God, it's rough. And you know what? You deserve it. You freak. You disgusting, horrible, filthy little girl. Didn't I tell you to stay away from them? You never listen. Serves you right for being the little slut you are. Oh my. Oh. But you don't have to worry, my darling. It's all right. Even in the whole world wishes you are dead, I promise you this. Your mother will always be by your side. My goodness, child, whatever has happened to you? The girl was slumped in the doorway, soaked by the rain. Her legs were covered with dirt and blood. She lifted her head upon hearing the priest's voice and stared at him with blank eyes. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. She hobbled forward, her bloodied leg giving way. Automatically, the priest rushed forward to steady her. Years of spiritual training had prepared him for the most unexpected guests to his church. He sprung into action. He ushered her to a pew, brought out some clean cloths, an antiseptic, and began to bandage the wound around her leg. Yet throughout all this, he found that he couldn't take his eyes off her. He would be gazing at the roll of bandages in his hand, deciding how to tie them. And then out of nowhere, he would be staring into her eyes. Even with all the mud and grime smeared across her face, he couldn't deny that she was absolutely beautiful. How old was she? 20? 18? 16? Her face was so young. The priest had long since aged past his desire for the opposite sex, but somehow, something about her enraptured him. When he realized his own thoughts, he quickly steered his mind towards other matters. My child, what has happened to you? She seemed to take it all the time in the world before responding. He looked at me. Looked? He looked at me and he touched me. And then he started to kiss me. At first, the priest didn't understand. Then he realized with a jolt of anger what she meant. It was happening more and more often nowadays. The young men of France these days were spirited, uncontrollable ruffians. A lady walking home by herself one night would be a prey to a few number of them. Lust, one of the 7 deadly sins, the one that the priest personally despised the most. Furrowing his brow in sorrow, the priest laid a hand on her thigh. You're safe now, child. God's house is a sanctuary for the faithful. I don't think he'll protect me. He looked at her in confusion. You see, Father, I have sinned again. Right there among the pews, before the altar of God, she bowed her head. I'm sorry. Was she apologizing to him or someone else? Her hair hid her face and her eyes, and the priest could make neither head nor tail of her. He suddenly realized that his hand was still on her thigh, and he hurriedly drew it away. "I'm sorry." She repeated this phrase over and over. After a while, the priest got up. "Don't fret, child. You are not to blame. I will contact the local constable, but in the meantime, you are free to make yourself at home here. I will fetch you a hot drink." He patted her hand and let her go to the back room. She remained seated on the pew, her head bent forward. As the priest's footsteps faded away, the entire church fell silent. Now that it was the dead of night, the clouds covered the sky. Barely a sliver of moonlight filtered through the stained glass. The girl sat alone in a ring of darkness. She opened her mouth. "No, I know. If I may say my piece, surely." "Yes, yes, mother. But he is so very kind." Now we get to make choices. Are we going to be the mean mom or the concerned mom? Let's go concerned. She was a bit rough earlier. "Child, follow your mother's words and leave." Oh God, she's not concerned. "You saw the look in his eyes, didn't you? You cannot stay here. Even a man of God can stain you with the filthiest colors. Be a good girl and follow mother's words." "But it's cold outside, mother. The rain has not let up. Can't I stay?" "I suppose you can. You must be wary of everyone in this church. Do you understand? You are so weak, my darling. You give my heart so much pain. I'm sorry, mother. I will try my best to stay out of trouble. How am I going to mind you like this? You attract so much misfortune everywhere you go." "My stupid little girl. Always a blight, aren't you? Whatever will you do without me?" "I'm sorry, mother. Thank you for always guiding me. It is all my fault." The girl sat in silence. Mother was right after all. She was always right. Everything was her fault. Her fist shook with a mixture of fear and conviction. She had to do penance. "Mother, give me strength. There's something I wish to do." The girl rose from the pew. In front of her was an altar. On top of the altar was an ornately decorated cross. It was as wide as her head, and the tip of the cross had been crafted such that it was razor sharp. She left the pew, knelt briefly, and then walked over to the altar. "Don't tell me. You're quite sure you're doing this?" The girl's arm trembled ever so slightly. "What other way is there for me to atone?" She picked up the cross. "Oh, my darling daughter, mother is proud of you." Slowly she brought the sharp end close to her face, so close that it hovered just above her left eye. And then Chapter 1, The Star and the Rose. Wow. That's some shit. A scruffy young girl in tattered clothes peeked through an open gate at Chateau du Sommiel. An afternoon gouter was being held in the gardens. People from high-class estates strolled around the manicured gardens while chatting loudly with one another. There were beautiful ladies clad in silk and velvet, their necks adorned with pearls and jewels. A variety of foods was displayed on the table. The girl just stared at the food. She hadn't eaten properly for the past few days. Are you hungry, my dear? Yes, Mother. Don't you worry. Mother will provide. You do not need those high-class foods anyway. They will upset your stomach. Now, we've stayed long enough. Let us leave. Surely we can look around for a bit. It's still a little early. That was something else that called to her, other than the party itself. She walked to and fro from the gates, peeking at the crowd, despite the urgings of her mother to leave. Just a tiny glance would be enough. The girl smiled at the thought of him, the owner of the chateau, the Marquise de Gull. The girl was drawn to him. He wasn't the same as other people. He seemed different somehow. He was so kind to her and would always hand her food when she delivered flowers. Her heart felt at ease with him. Tough choice. He's the same as everyone. Greedy. Insatiable. Maybe not for you, but for something else. But he's a kind man, Mother. Don't let his kindness fool you. Sweetest tongues hide sharpest tooth, child. She bit her lip. Why do you even bother with him? He makes me feel like there are still good people in the world, Mother. Oh, I don't have to play. There are no more good people in the world, child. It is hard to say. Oh, it is a clickable. There are no more good people in the world, child. The world has run out of them. All that is left are manipulative souls who appear kind on the outside because they need other people to survive. Ultimately, they only care for themselves. Don't you think I'm a good person, Mother? Humans are intrinsically selfish, including you. Why do you think I take great pains to keep you out of trouble? It's because you're like this little monster. I'm sorry, Mother. If I've ever caused you any pain, please forgive me. The girl stared at her shoes and looked around for a bit, hoping for just a glance before she left. And there he was. There was no harm in looking, she reasoned. She would never enter the Marquise world. Let her heart be filled with hope. He turned his eye in her direction. Did he smile at her? The girl's heart stopped. Did he recognize her? She beamed. My, is this creature deaf as well as dumb? It might be, poor thing. Mademoiselle. A voice called to the rose girl. She gasped. It seemed that somebody else had noticed her presence. She turned to leave. No, my dear, poor little creature, don't run away. Charlotte, she stinks. Don't touch her. Came to crash the party, little urchin. You hungry? Her stomach gave a low grumble. She was always hungry, it seemed, no matter how much or how little she ate. Encouraged by the kindness of the Marquis had shown to her, the girl approached the women. She teetered towards their table. What are you selling? Look at this poor creature. She's selling roses. These are all ugly ones, but not as appalling as the rage she is covering herself, or rags she is covering herself in. Are you trying your best to be this repulsive? Now don't be mean, Antoinette. Perhaps it's the commoner fashion nowadays. They laughed while gawking at her and her wares. Oh my, she only has one eye. Ghastly, but I can't look away. The other lady nodded her head. Like a sideshow attraction, you mean? The freaks at the carnivals? She's darling in her own dirty, monstrous way. Maybe we can keep it. Hello, do you want some bread, urchin? Well, speak up. Maybe her tongue is too short. Add that to the list of her sterling qualities. Quiet, Antoinette. Come on, don't be shy. Do you want some food? Let us hear you speak. Yes, madam. What? Yes, madam, I would be grateful. One of the ladies clapped in mockery at her reply. Oh, she talks. The ladies handed her the bread, but it was snatched away just before her fingers grazed it. Aha! Not before you dance for us first. Oh, make her do a handstand. I've seen one of those street people do that. Quite marvelous. Now, I'd like to see that. This party's getting quite boring. Well, come on, Maybet. Dance for your food. The girl looked at the beautiful, cruel faces of the women. That look on them. It was a burning desire to hurt someone simply because they could. She knew that look. Before they touched her and hurt her, they all had that look burning in their eyes. Aw, look what you did, Claudette. She's shivering like a leaf, poor thing. The lady was laughing as she said those words. I didn't do anything. She should be grateful we're even offering her this much. Besides, these commoners are supposed to be jolly in their misery. Come on, girl, show us your joy. The girl moved away as they laughed. Mother, please save me. Mother. Didn't I tell you to leave, insolent child? Now you call for me? Try to deal with this situation yourself. You have put yourself in a position anyway. I hope you learn your lesson. Hey there! A child's voice called out from behind her. It belonged to a girl about 7 with chubby cheeks and a look of curiosity in her eyes. She wore an old blue dress, somewhat patched at the corners, but kept clean and tidy. She was not rich, but she had an air as if she owned the ground she stood on. Another commoner. This party is absolutely teeming with them. The Marquis loved these things. Heard he picks them up randomly from the street. Maybe I should get me one too. Do you think it's fashionable abroad? In his birth country, I mean? Persia? No. I heard he was from India. I heard a rumor he's a bastard son of a Greek queen. Goodness, that is so far-fetched. I could barely pronounce his name, though. He really should change it to something more acceptable. Who knows what kind of demons he might attract with such a blasphemous name. Aha, it must be why all these nasty, horrible little creatures flock around him. Oh, devil or not, I'll forgive him if he kisses my hand. The ladies laughed. Salope. Aren't you shameless? Don't lie. We all know why we're here. The ladies gossiped among themselves, openly ignoring the girl. The young girl took a sliding with a shrug. She approached the table and asserted her presence. What you doing? Goodness, they don't take a hint, do they? Throw something shiny, it might distract them. Hey, you've been holding that bread for a long time. Aren't you gonna give it to her? She pointed at the shabby rose vendor. Why do you care? Do you want the bread for yourself? I'll bet she's hungry too. I know, maybe you should toss the bread and see if they'll fight for it. The ladies laughed to themselves. The girl stared at them with confusion, her brows furrowed in a childlike understanding. Next thing everyone knew, she had swiped the bread from the woman's hand. Oh my, how rude. Horrible, filthy girl, give that back. The girl sniffed a piece of bread and nibbled at the surface. Yummy, it's still warm. She shoved the bread in the urchin's face. The scrumptious scent of bread flooded the Rose girl's nose. Lick it. They sugared buttered tastes good. No, you devil child, give that back. The urchin licked it, and her tongue was coated in sweetness. She stood there, squeezing the taste in her tongue. The girl grinned at her. She couldn't help but grin back. Sorry, here you go. It's all yours. Ugh, disgusting. Like we're going to eat anything that's been in your filthy mouths. Wow, so this is ours now? You ladies are so nice. Cheeky little brat, I'll have you thrown out of this party. I'll have you... Uh-oh, they're in trouble now. The young man strode to the commotion, a sweet scent lingering as he passed. The Rose girl felt her mouth well up. His presence filled her body, almost as if her hunger was abated. She blushed furiously. What a strange effect he had. Ladies? Oh, Sire Guillemay. I just came to check on my esteemed guests. Is everything all right? Are you enjoying yourselves? One of the ladies started fanning herself with obvious annoyance. Well, these little beasts have been harassing us. Yes, my lord. We were just minding our own business when this little girl swiped the food off our table. Horrible little nits. The girl stuck out her tongue at them. The lady wiped her eyes in mock tears. See, look at that. It's absolutely monstrous how these children act around adults now. There's no respect, monsieur. I worry for the next generation. Oh, Charlotte, don't cry. Well, my lord, we would all breathe a little easier if those children were sent on their way. Yes, who knows what kind of mischief they might be up to. They might set a fire to the table, you see. Oh? Or steal our jewelry. In fact, I think my pocket watch is missing. No, how unfortunate. One of the ladies continued her childish wailing. Is it, monsieur? It's unfortunate how you allow important guests to be treated this way. Please deal with these vermins. Throw them out now. Oh, my sweet ladies, I am stricken with grief at your misfortunes. Allow me to offer you my heartfelt apologies. Unfortunately, this child is my important guest today, and you are, sad to say, paltry squatters. Excuse me? Madame Charlotte of Montpellier, I don't remember sending you an invitation. Same for you, Lady Antoinette of Rennes, and Lady Claudette of Lyon. Most people I invite are huge patrons of music. This is why they are here today. They came to listen to Mademoiselle Catherine Louise Paride. She is the 7-year-old piano prodigy who plays for the Queen last summer. The man pointed at the girl busy chewing her half of the bread. The Rose girl just stared at an unfolding situation. Well, I am sure you were aware of that, were you not? No matter. I'm always happy to see you, ladies. It's my pleasure to have you here. But I hope you don't mind giving some food away to my townspeople. That is why I keep my gates open. My servers are instructed to serve anyone who passes by, not just my guests. But don't you fret, my darlings. There's plenty more to be served. The ladies blushed in embarrassment. One of them began to fan herself even faster. Excuse me. The Marquise walked up to the two girls. The Rose girl's heart beat so fast it made her head feel light and dizzy. She had never been this close to him. It made her feel a mixture of fear and elation. Lady Catherine, your father has been looking for you. It's almost time for your performance. The girl looked up at the Marquise and did a little curtsy. My apologies, sire. I didn't mean to cause a clatter. Guillemay, chuckled. I'm gonna go with Guillemay. I saw the whole thing, ma chérie. You put those ladies in their place. They were being mean to her. Guillemay narrowed his eyes at the quiet girl. She hid behind a basket of roses. She couldn't look at him directly. He was like the sun. It hurt just to be in his presence. Yet there was relief in her heart as he stepped closer to her. I've seen you before, haven't I? The rose girl nodded and made a curtsy. I deliver roses to your house sometimes, sir. Yes. The girl with the sweetest face. The rose girl blushed. I love your roses, by the way. They stay fresh longer than they should. You've tended to them with love. Thank you, sir. Do you have a name, young lady? What's the matter? It's all right, young lady. If you would rather, let's call her Rosa. Rosa, it fits her. I think she forgot her name, or she lost it. The Marquise nodded wisely. Valid point. Are you all right with that, Rosa? Yes. Come on, Rosa. You'll watch me play, right? Her eyes darted from the girl to the Marquise. Oh, Sir Gilly doesn't mind. Gilly? He's really nice to me and my family. And he helps the people around town, too. He won't throw you out. The Marquise held his right hand in the air as if swearing an oath. I won't. See? Come on. You're invited now. You're my special guest. There's plenty of food inside, too, Rosa. Please help yourself. Thank you, sir. Rosa is coming. Yay! Now, this is my first public performance, Rosa. I'm a bit nervous. Catherine scratched her head. What will I do if I make a mistake? Papa will be very upset. The Marquise knelt in front of Catherine and rubbed her shoulders fondly. You won't make a mistake, ma chérie. As long as you put your heart into the keys. Play to touch your audience, and any mistake won't matter. Do you understand? Catherine stared at the Marquis. Not really, the man chuckled. You will someday. Just play your first song with me on your mind, will you? Something that you think will make me smile. Guillaume held Catherine's clear young eyes in his gaze. He kissed her hand. It was covered with sticky sugar and breadcrumbs. Catherine blushed. It was the first time she looked embarrassed by anything. It would be my pleasure, sir. Catherine trudged up the wooden podium and walked towards the middle of the stage. The crowd chatter died down. She curtsied in front of her audience and waved to her father and stole a glance at Guillaume. The man gave her a tiny nod. She sat down in front of the piano, admiring the cream and ebony keys underneath her fingers. Her own piano was broken and beaten. Her father had sold his horse for it. The A3 key never played, and the strings would creak when it was cold. But it had never failed her. She knew the keys like they were her own fingers. She whispered to the new piano softly, as if coaxing it, a beautiful, untamed animal. Let's be friends, okay? She saw Rosa at the far end of the podium, watching her diligently. There was renewed vigor in her blood. She could hear the keys calling out to her. A song that would make him smile. She placed her fingers on the keys. She began to play. At the ring of the first note, it became apparent to the audience that this girl was something special. Here was a little girl, barely tall enough to reach the pedals of the piano, playing it as if she owned it. There were times she'd miss a note or two, but it didn't matter. She played the song to make someone smile, and it touched everyone present. Her musical skill was far beyond her years. Her fingers caressed the keys as if she was making a flower crown, carefully weaving the petals. She knew the correct way to tie the leaves so they wouldn't tear, like a smart little girl did. As the piano sang under her hands, Catherine seemed to disappear right in front of the audience's eyes. She's she was just a vision after all, somebody leading them down a dream of a garden, the springtime, the shade of the tree on a windy day. The couples in the audience tightened their grip on the hands of their partners. Some closed their eyes and let the music saturate their soul. Sweet memories of youth, a first love, the yawn of a newborn. Rosa's eyes shone as she stared at Catherine, her heart captured by this image of her. A young girl was swaying her head to the music, smiling as the notes poured out of her. She couldn't take her eyes away from Catherine's glowing face. Was this happiness? Was this love? She looked like she was in love, and she was, wasn't she? In her innocence, she was in love with life, in love with her family, her pets, in love with every new discovery. She was full of hope. It was a bittersweet feeling for Rosa. A happy teardrop rolled down her cheek. She warmed herself in that hope, if she could. In the audience, Guillaume and Catherine's father sat beside each other. Sir Paride, your daughter is amazing. She is, isn't she? I mean, pardon my arrogance, my liege. I'm a very proud father, you see. No pardon necessary, sir. She has found a sponsor yet, has she? The Duke of Versailles once spoke to me about it, but we have not made any arrangements. Then I must steal her away as soon as possible. Sir? I'd like to be Catherine's primary sponsor, if that's all right with you. Why, sir? And to further cement my status, that piano she is playing right now, it is hers. I've bought it for her. Francois's eyes widened with astonishment. That is... Gulp. That is beyond generous, sir. Guillaume smiled. Well, I must make it hard for you to refuse me, you see. I took the opportunity of asking you outright. You see, the Duke might offer an extravagant piano plated in gold. In that case, I have no choice but to humbly concede. What? I'm kidding. The Duke of Versailles is the worst miser you will ever meet. The men chuckled. Of course, I shall pay for her musical tutoring as required, along with ample stipend to accommodate your family. You don't have to look so surprised, Monsieur Paride. Your daughter's a star, and there is an effervescence about her that enraptures the soul. There is no doubt in my mind that she will succeed. Thank you deeply, my liege. Please call me by my name, monsieur. Let me remind you, this generosity isn't without charge. Her tutoring will be done at my house. I want to monitor her progress. Apart from that, I'd very much like Catherine to visit me and play for me from time to time. Music is one of my true passions. Her presence would benefit my mood tenfold. Of course, sir. That is a small price to pay for all your offers. On the contrary, monsieur. You don't have to decide now. Kindly think about it. Thank you, my lord, Sir Guillaume. After the performance, Catherine and Rosa went to the Marquis's garden to play. Francois and Guillaume lingered at their table, sorting out the details of Catherine's further education. Emily Paride wandered about the crowd, searching for familiar faces. She had arrived halfway through Catherine's performance just in time to gush at her little sister's applause. Unfortunately, she couldn't find her father in the crowd. She finally caught sight of the back of his head, and she approached him hastily. Father, there you are. I've been looking for you. Emily stopped as she saw the man her father was talking to. It was none other than the Marquis himself. She fixed herself consciously and curtsied. My lord, pardon my intrusion, I didn't realize. Guillaume smiled at her kindly. You are free to intrude any time, young lady, my lady. Emily smiled back, just as the rumor said the Marquis was easy on the eyes. To whom do I owe the pleasure of your acquaintance? This is my eldest daughter, Emily. Pardon me for not introducing her sooner. Charmed. Guillaume offered her a seat. Emily sat down across from the man. Well, it seems talent and good looks run in the family. Francois rubbed his neck. Yes, my daughters are my pride and joy. Thankfully, they both took after their mother. Surely not, Monsieur Perbrad. The eyes are all yours. Earnest and loving eyes. Emily snorted at such sappy words. Her father is clearly basking in the compliments. If this really was the famous Guillaume the rumors talked about, then he wasn't exactly much of a charmer, was he? He didn't know what all the fuss was about. The ladies in the house she worked for could not seem to stop talking about this man. Admittedly, there was something morbidly curious about the way he looked at people. Like he was always distracted and could only say words that were expected of him. I'm pleased to have finally met you, sir. I've heard a lot about you on my travels. All good things, I hope. Depends on the tabloid and the day of the week. Emily thought to herself and chuckled. You are a governess, I was told. Where do you work? With the Dmitri household, sir. Ah, yes, I heard you were marrying to the family soon. Oh, father, I told you not to tell anybody yet. I didn't. But you know how people talk. Word travels fast. Pardon the comment then, my lady. Please. Your betrothed is a lucky man. You're bothered. The conversation endured through the afternoon. Small talk, musical composers, their little town, Catherine's musical background, Francois' student, Emily's work. Emily played with her napkin, offering droll opinions on the particularly droll topics. Although, all throughout the exchange, Emily observed the infamous Marquis d'Elgo. This was him? The audacious, shameless flirt of the royal court and tabloids. According to rumors, he was able to bed both the widowed Countess of Devonshire and her daughter at the same time, and even had a tumultuous relationship with the Prince of Gamut. He didn't limit himself to royalty, or so the tabloids said. His latest fling was with an English poet, who they say almost killed him when he was caught with another man or woman. At this point, who knew what was real and what was blatant lie made up by the newspapers? She looked forward to meeting him again. She had looked forward to meeting him, and here he was, finally, talking about sampling the new bakery's creme brulee. She couldn't say she was disappointed exactly, but the Marquis was depressingly a normal man. Maybe even boring, Emily ventured. She watched his gaze flicker across her hair and her nose before lazily trailing away. He was infuriating. How infuriating. She wondered if he would suddenly say something coy, or insist to dance with her. Just something outrageous, honestly, so she could shoot him down. The man whom everyone was interested in. That would be a small victory for reasonable women everywhere. But the Marquis was nothing but polite. He did not ogle. He did not touch unnecessarily. No audacious gestures or suggestive winks of the eye. He would not even look at her for more than 2 seconds. Maybe she was not pretty enough to flirt with. Emily bit her lip. She couldn't be thinking that. But there were also times that he would quietly look into her eyes when the conversation lulled. When the words spoken were without meaning, their eyes would converse further. To Emily, he started to look lonely underneath the facade of caprice. He seemed tired of all the gallivanting and rumors of numerous flings. We are all a little lonely, aren't we? Perhaps even he. He invited the family over to his chateau and commented on how empty the building felt sometimes. Music was his guilty pleasure. It got him through the cold nights, he said with a sad grin. How he wouldn't mind a warm soul to touch. And before she could stop herself, Emily had begun to imagine his lips on her neck on one of those cold nights. Emily shook her head, trying to erase the thoughts in her mind. They were having perfectly mundane conversation. She didn't know where those thoughts came from. Fortunately, her father didn't seem to notice. Music and loneliness struck a nerve with Francois Paride. He had immersed himself in music, tutoring his students and Catherine ever since his wife had gotten sick. It had been 6 years, but sometimes the nights were cold. For Francois, the Marquis was speaking to his soul. He was a kindred spirit. He wasn't pompous showboat like all the other royalty Catherine had played for. The Marquis even had a wine collection he wanted to show Francois. Such a down-to-earth, generous young man. Emily, your face is flushed. Are you all right? I'm fine. Just the sun, probably. This was not true, of course. The afternoon sun had already lost most of its heat. Thankfully, Catherine provided a distraction. She ran towards the little huddle and flung her arms around her father's torso, chattering happily about gardens and butterflies. A young ragged girl followed behind her. Emily wasn't sure how old the girl was. Her dirty blonde hair hid the left side of her face. You could just see faint traces of scars peeking through. A surge of motherly affection caught hold of her heart. Hello there, young lady. The girl looked down at her toes, but she gave a shy smile. I see you've made a crown of flowers. You look very pretty. Thank you, madam. Catherine gave it to me. Sister, this is Rosa. She's really nice. She knows the name of all the flowers in Sir Gilly's garden. Catherine, there you go again with your silly names. Sister, help me convince Papa to let Rosa stay with us. Catherine? Papa, please let her stay with us. She doesn't have anywhere to go. Now, Catherine, that's not very nice. Rosa here is a girl. She is not a kitten that you can just pluck from the streets and take home, like you always do with stray animals. Goodness knows, we have all the stray cats of France living in our house. Yes, I know she's not a kitten. I know she's a girl. But shouldn't we take her home even more so? Francois sighed. Yelme chuckled under his breath. He was clearly enjoying the exchange. Your daughter has some very unique views, Sir Paride. Well, Sir Gilly, what do you think? Huh? Yelme's face lost his casual bystander look. You're the Marquis. I'm sure my father would follow your orders, right? Shouldn't we take Rosa home? Yelme's brow furrowed at being put on the spot so suddenly. He stole a glance at Francois, who was silently pleading with him with his eyes not to humor the child. He cleared his throat. Well, I'm sure it's up to your father since he owns the house. We will have to clothe and feed Rosa, you see. Yes, but I've got that all figured out. Ever since Sister moved to work, nobody minds the house anymore. And I have to wash the dishes every time. Ugh. Papa's so busy, and we always have enough food for the two of us. If Rosa stays, then I wouldn't be so lonely on my own. She'll wear sister's old clothes and will mind the house. And when both sisters and father are away, she can wash the dishes sometimes, and I'll wash them sometimes. Yelme and Francois shared a look. And besides, if it were up to me, I'd have people take one girl home in their house and give her food. Girls don't even eat that much. Not sure about boys. She thought for a bit. But I'm sure it's not too much that people can't take them home to. One time, I ate a whole plate of potatoes and my stomach hurt. If Rosa was there, I wouldn't have eaten so much. Maybe. Yelme couldn't help but laugh. Francois rubbed his neck with embarrassment. I'm so sorry, sir. She's very headstrong. Father, I'm sure taking Rosa in wouldn't be much trouble for us financially, yes? The New York pays better. I'm sure we can adjust. Well, about that. Perhaps if Rosa worked in my household, it wouldn't be much of a burden to your family, Sir Pride. Rosa? Sir Gilly is great. You are truly kind soul, sir. Not at all. I'm sure I need her help more than she needs mine. Isn't that right, Rosa? In that case, I would love to offer my home to Rosa. Although I'm still worried that this is supposed to be more complicated, sir. What about her family or her friends? Are we violating any laws, perhaps? I'm not even sure. As long as it's consensual, sir, the details can be smoothed out later. The girl was quiet the whole time. She looked at her toes or at Catherine. Rosa, do you have any family, relatives, or friends you stay with? No, sir. My mother died a long time ago, but she guides me always. So, please don't be compelled to mind me. No, don't go back to the streets, Rosa. It's September. It's going to be really cold soon. Sir Gilly will even give you work. Stay with us. But Catherine, Francois sighed and surrendered. All right, she can stay for the night. Papa, just for tonight. Then we'll see if she wants to stay any longer. Catherine, you cannot hold people in their place just because you want them there. Do you understand? If Rosa wants to leave, she may leave. You cannot keep her like an object. Yelme cleared his throat. That is sound advice, sir, Pride. Yes, Papa, I understand. Rosa, please make yourself comfortable in our home. Thank you. Papa is the best. Catherine turned to Guillaume again. Silly Gilly, don't you think if everyone with a house takes one person home, nobody would freeze in the winter? You should make it a law. They'll obey you because you're a marquis. And because you're tall. Oh, so people obey my orders because I'm tall? What a compliment. Well, you're taller than my papa, at least. He'll never be a marquis. Oh, damn. Francois pulled his daughter's ear with embarrassment. Catherine, mind your manners. I'm so sorry, sir. Guillaume shook his head, his eyes trailing over the Pride family. Emily watched him curiously. The same sadness once again surfaced for the briefest moment. You have a lovely family, sir. I'm quite jealous. You make me want to settle down myself someday. He chuckled. Maybe. Emily's heart skipped a beat. Did he just look at her when he said that? She couldn't be sure. Catherine is perfect the way she is. It is one of the reasons why I'm very invested in her. Guillaume knelt down so that he was eye to eye with Catherine. He patted her head. You are a very intelligent and kind-hearted girl, Catherine. You're a star. Mon étoile. Someday, I know you will change the world. At least, I'd like to see you try. Mother? Help me. My chest. I can't breathe. No. Catherine?